No, it's AuPd. Palladium. You know, one of the things I tell people all the time, right, is there's no such thing as magic. But things look a lot like magic when you don't understand the science behind them. Right? One of the things that we're told, you go take a college course in thermodynamics. And I got mine while my brother was getting his, my older brother, and because I was helping him learn German at the time. I was his sounding board for technical German, so I got some pretty basic chemistry from my brother. And things like thermodynamics that say that with temperature, things move from hot to cold, right? The temperature will drop unless you're applying heat to it, right? As long as you're applying heat to it, it will raise to whatever point there is. I've got a lighter here that burns it's got two flames, and it gets pretty hot. And it really should be able to melt aluminum. I mean, a little bit. But it doesn't at all because it's actually not aluminum anymore. And it's not hot either. Look, I'm holding it right. I'm not holding it right exactly where I was putting the flame, but I'm holding it right next to it. There's my torch. That's what AuPd does. And because there's not much aluminum can do in high temperatures because of the low melting point, right? The other problem with aluminum is that it's really soft. You can't we make engines out of aluminum, but like the inside of the cylinder we make out of steel because the steel's so much harder. This is as hard as steel. It's no longer aluminum. It rings like a bell, and it's bright, shiny white. And aluminum, of course, is kind of grayish because it oxidizes, turns into aluminum oxide, and the coating of aluminum oxide that covers the entire surface. It's like rust, but it's the whole thing. And aluminum oxidizes just exactly like iron oxidizes. We make we used to make our measuring things out of platinum because it is so very, 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 very stable. And it doesn't react with other things, or at least not things that happen by accident anyway. Like out in nature. Platinum is very stable. Gold is even more stable. And platinum actually has a radioactive isotope, PT-190, and a series of neutrons, maybe, I don't know, 20 different isotopes with different amounts of neutrons on it. And I don't know that it's actually isotopes of platinum. Now, isotopes of platinum would involve the incorporation of those neutrons into the structure of the nucleus. And it doesn't. They're just stuck on the outside. And they're not stable. They want to keep going. They want to keep going. And when light hits them, they give off the mass of an electron. They're giving off an electron. And what you're seeing is the passage of those. The electrons in metals go up a notch and come back down because they've only got metallic bonds. The electrons in diamonds go up a notch and they stay there. Maybe they go up 2 notches because they got double covalent bonds. And it's those bonds that provide that energy. And that's why diamonds are so clear, because they can stay up there. Okay? Metals reflect light because they can't. Okay? And so heating this, the stuff that was in here had double covalent bonds like diamond, because it cools way deep in the earth. And that volcanic ash that I've been playing with for many years is radioactive because it came from the molten rock of planet Earth, and that's what keeps it molten. And it's mostly AU and PT and PD, right? Palladium. And palladium is this absolutely, totally useful metal, man, because we can make stuff out of this like we do aluminum, but it doesn't wear out, and it doesn't oxidize, doesn't develop resistance over time because it doesn't have any. Doesn't heat up and cool down and heat up and cool down and expand and contract and expand and contract and break. It won't do that. It doesn't have to break. We can make a machine out of this that won't break, that doesn't require major cooling systems to run efficiently. Taking energy away from the main purpose of the machine to cool it is counterproductive. So, that's why we like to build hydroelectric plants, right? The water flowing through keeps everything cool. But for instance, if I have an engine and I build it out of this stuff, and the pistons are going up and down and up and down, there's friction, right? Friction. Bum, bum, bum. Here's my bum. That's what friction is. And it heats the metal. Right? The metal expands, and it causes more friction. Right? And that's why we have to lubricate our engines and stuff. And that's why they only last a certain amount of time, because they're going up and down and up and down and up and down. And the hotter they get, the more expansion metal has. And so when we design an engine with aluminum and a steel liner for the piston to go up and down in, we have to accommodate for two different expansions, and we compensate by putting water jacket around everything, and water helps even the temperature out, right? Because it absorbs that heat in a superconductor type way. If I heat water up over here, it's the same temperature over here. Ditto with pressure and all of that. And so a room temperature superconductor is kind of like that, kind of like the water effect. And if I fill I'm an Alfa Romeo mechanic. I loved Alfa Romeos when I was a kid, and they have an aluminum engine, and the cylinder sits inside of like a tub like this. So the cylinder would be all by itself, and it was made out of steel, and it sits in a little aluminum valley, and it's surrounded by water. And the head sits down on top of that. And you got to get all the gaskets and all of that stuff to keep all that water inside this chamber, and not inside where the piston's going up and down. And there's considerable difficulty with doing that. You blow head gaskets, or you used to anyway. Metallurgy is getting much better, and things like gaskets and stuff like that are getting better, and so engines are more dependable. They are more dependable. But you know what? They don't have to break at all. They don't have to break. Our machines don't have to break. There's no reason to build a machine that breaks, other than to sell more of them, right? I mean, if you want to sell lots and lots of machines, and you don't care that the cost of a car, an automobile, has to do with the rapidity that it wears out, and they're built to wear out. The wearing out part is designed in because of the metals they use. Right? We've had palladium for 100 years or so, I think, something like that. But not in large quantity. It's not easy to get when you're getting it out of. I don't know how they have what they call ore bodies that have metallic platinum. And the stuff I'm using is not metallic. It's got double covalent bonds, and so it's much harder to get, actually, than digging a hole in the ground and melting platinum. And melting platinum is a real serious, hard task. The Indigenes here in the Americas used platinum, but they couldn't melt it. They just used it the way it was. And you can find like crystals of it in the creeks and rivers. Look like that. And they're differentiated from like silver, because silver tarnishes and it gets black, looks black. These are bright and shiny silver. Those just came out of the crucible, and they're bright and shiny silver. because it doesn't oxidize. Doesn't oxidize. It doesn't develop resistance on the surface. Aluminum has aluminum oxide. So and it all does. You cleaned it off and take your zooper thing away, and by the time you got it about this far away, it's completely oxidized again. They can't help it. It doesn't exist without oxygen. And so the surface of all aluminum has a layer of aluminum oxide on it. And that means that when I try to run a current through it, if I drill a hole and I put a little screw in there and I screw a copper wire on there, it's going to heat up, cool down, heat up, cool down, because it's every time it tries to go through into the metal, it's got to pass that piece of that layer of aluminum oxide. You know, all the chrome bumpers so that it looks pretty, stuff like that. Remember? Maybe not everybody remembers 1957, but I do. And they chromed everything, man. They made wings on the back of cars because we were going to the moon, man. We were space age. Aerodynamic and stuff. My father had a 57 Dodge station wagon with wings on the back. Far out, man. Anyway, and chrome. And making like aluminum and chrome and all of that stuff takes tremendous amount of caustic materials. This took some water and some borax. That's what I used. And the dust in the road. That's where the AuPd came from. The stuff from Georgia, there's a whole big stripe of it across Georgia. I didn't know what it was from, how it got there. They said it was the Appalachian Mountains wearing away, and that's, I thought, okay. And I got some, and it didn't work for what I wanted it to do, make an opal. Didn't react very much at all. And it's because it's mostly palladium, I think, instead of AuPd, like I was used to. And the stuff in Lightning Ridge, where the opal that I was used to came from, is really white, so high platinum content. And I thought I had it figured out, man. I thought it was this whole big chemical process, and I had it mapped out, except it relied on information that was wrong. Because the information I had said there was silica and feldspar in the volcanic ash, and there is, in fact, not any. There is silicon carbide in volcanic ash, in little tiny crystals like diamonds, and there are diamonds in volcanic ash. But most of it's AuPd. And I don't think that, some people talk out their ass. They say things and it's just blah, 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 man. We tried to melt this with a 3,000 degree torch. It was empty. It was sitting on the ground empty. And we can't melt it. It's bright, shiny white. And it's still as light as aluminum. It's AuPd. AuPd. And it's a functional pan, just like it was before, except now I can put this on my stove and melt aluminum cans in it.